Everyone, from me, Brent Graham. Welcome to this Stage 9 betting preview of the Tour de France, brought to you by goodforthegame.co.za. Of course, we'll also have a look back at what was an incredible Stage 8 and get all the latest updated betting. So let's start with the result of Stage 8. Dylan Teuns winning it from Jan Izagir, who we know goes well in wet weather, and Michael Woods, who looked very good at one point, finished third. So the stage was everything we'd hoped it for. It was absolutely dramatic. We had the likes of Richie Porte trying to get into the break early. They were really trying to put pressure onto Tadej Pogacar's team. The pace was so hard at the start that both Primož Roglic and Geraint Thomas actually lost ground in the first 30 kilometers their races were run. Of course, those two both suffering from injuries that wouldn't have happened under normal circumstances. But it really, given that Friday was such a hard stage, it was amazing to see how hard the guys went yesterday as well. And that was the top three. But the real ride of the day at the end of the day was from Tadej Pogacar. You know, I'd mentioned early in the week that this race was not over, because Pogacar didn't have the strongest team. I never ever said a weak team, but I did say it wasn't the strongest. And there were signs there that they were vulnerable, although I've got to say yesterday they put in a very, very good ride. But Pogacar did what I don't think very few people in history could have done, what he did yesterday, the way he rode. And he basically took his team out of the equation almost for the balance of the race. I say almost because it's not race over yet. But essentially, he's so far ahead now of his nearest rival, Carapaz, as far as the GC contenders go, that he can afford to ride a defensive race. And the other thing that's going to happen now for Pogacar, which is going to be to his benefit, is the teams are going to stop looking at the yellow jersey and start looking at podium positions and top 10 positions. So when there is a dangerous person out in front in the break, he's probably going to get help a lot quicker than he would have got if he was under pressure there at the top of the sort of leaderboard. So a good ride by him. I did vote polls caught the eye, very aggressive ride yesterday. It looks like he's going for the King of the Mountains. We'll have a look at that betting now. Simon Yates would have been a bit disappointed he wasn't able to kick on and win from that break. And if we go down, then the contenders start coming in around about 4 minutes behind there. Pogacar in the end, he was 49 seconds. Unbelievable. Let's quickly have a look at the outright standings. Won't spend too much time on this. In fact, going forward, we may not be spending much time at all on the outright standings, but you've got Pogacar. He's 148 ahead of Wout van Aert, who rode a brave race yesterday, but he's going to fade out of contention fairly quickly. Lutsenko's really impressed. He's 438 back. And then if we have a look at the likes of Rigoberto Urán, who doesn't have much of an attacking flair about him, he's 446. And Carapaz there, 501. Carapaz at least tried to stay with Pogacar, but it was amazing the way that Pogacar rode him off the wheel. I can honestly say, having watched Tour de France for many years, and I started watching in the Indurain era as opposed to before that, so I can't comment on the guys who went before him, but I've never seen anyone with such an all-round ability as Pogacar. He's absolutely unbelievable. And it's just a pity, though, that we don't have the likes of Roglic now to challenge him. Let's move on to let's move on to the betting. We'll have a quick look at the betting updates. There's your general classification betting at Sunbet, 1 to 18 Pogacar now. I must say, I've got a mate who's got a Betfair account in the UK, and he said to me, is there anything we can lay yesterday? And I said, you know what? Pogacar maybe looked a bit vulnerable on Friday. His team could be under pressure. Let's lay a bit of the 11 to 20 Pogacar to win the Tour de France. Couldn't have picked worse timing. Pogacar now 1 to 18. Unbelievable. And you've got to say that only bad luck in running should be able to stop him. Now, it's not impossible that he could crack, or that a dangerous break could suddenly get 6 minutes, 7 minutes, and his team can't defend it, but very unlikely. And guys are going to fear him now as well after that performance yesterday. Carapaz 18, Lutsenko 33, Wout van Aert 33. Absolutely no chance that Wout van Aert wins the Tour this year. Mountain classification. This is interesting. Pogacar, of course, picked up some points yesterday, but he's 3 to 1 to win this. Now, initially, I actually had him as the mountains winner at around the 8-9 to 1 mark. I'm now starting to move away and saying Pogacar might be taken on in this market. And my reason is quite simple. The way that the lead that Pogacar's got now, he really doesn't have to do anything out of the ordinary anymore. His team can ride defensively, and they can afford to let breaks go probably minutes down the road in many cases. So I think we're going to get, I don't think we're going to get many GC battles on stages. I think this could become a tour, and I'm not talking about sprint stages now, but a tour for the breakaways in a lot of these stages. I just don't see that Pogacar needs to do that. And he'll probably use his team as sparingly as possible. So I think he could be worth taking on. And two guys who might well be looking for that jersey are just behind in the betting. Michael Woods at 7 to 1 and Wout Poels at 8 to 1. Poels in particular appeals there. And I'm going to give some consideration. I might get involved in him in the Mountains jersey, and I'll place that bet on the Good for the Game forum And there is a link down below to the forum thread. I'll just have it scrolling. Well, it's scrolling down below, but below the video, there's a link to the forum if you want to see what other guys placed. And well done on that note to the Van, who was on Dylan Tiern's yesterday. Well done. I think he got 50-1 about him. And if we have to pick a form tipster in the Good for the Game forum at the moment, it certainly isn't Brent Graham. And the Van has been on good form, particularly leading up to the Tour as well. Points classification, Cavendish drifted slightly to 9-10. I'm quite interested in that. He was sort of the 7-10 mark. He seemed to do okay yesterday, finish with a bunch. So we'll keep an eye on that one. But I've got to say, that 9-10 has started to look very, very tempting indeed. Team classification was absolutely shaken up yesterday. I did say I wanted to lay Movistar around the even money. Well, they're absolutely gone now. I think they're an hour behind or something. But so are my team, EF, the pink team. They're also they're still 25-1, but they're well out of contention. And this almost looks a two-horse race between Bahrain and Astana. Mind you, Jumbo there as well, of course. It's certainly not bet as a two-horse race, but Bahrain look to be in control now. But this team classification is very, very dangerous indeed. There's the young rider, 1-25, Pogacar. Let's move on to the stage, though, and let's have a quick look at the profile. We've got a mountain stage today and a fairly flattish start. And then we've got a Cat 2 climb, 2.5 kilometers at 9.4%. Let me just take this banner down. 2.5 kilometers at 9.4%. So we should get a pretty strong break going away. It might take a while for the break to settle, but we should get a break with some climbers in it. I don't see it being quite as frantic as yesterday, although I do think we'll get an exciting start. There is a sprint at this point, so it's going to be interesting. The likes of Sonny Cabrelli's team, Michael Matthews' team will probably want to keep things together for the sprint. So, in fact, now that I look at it, and I had a bit of a sleep in this morning, which is quite unusual for me, so I haven't had as stronger look at it as I normally would. I would say that they would probably keep it together for the sprint, and the big break will probably go on this Cat 1 climb, 9.4 kilometers at 6.2%. It's basically after that up and down really all day. Looks like there's a little bit of 12 to 15 kilometers of potential flattish, I'll call it here, but it's pretty much up and down. We've got an out of category climb, we've got a Cat 2, and then we finish on a Cat 1, which is not on its own that difficult to climb. It's 21 kilometers, it averages 5.6%, but after let's say by this stage, 2.75 days these guys would have had, you can expect some tired legs. There could be some massive time gaps. I'm expecting a strong break to go clear and stay clear. As I said earlier, I don't think Pogacar is going to be worried about winning a stage like this, and I'm not sure that the likes of Carapaz have really got what it takes to attack him. And in fact, I'm expecting more than likely that Ineos will put people into the break. So let's have a look at the betting now. Stage 9 betting. Okay, there is an interesting one. You've got Pogacar as the favourite. So obviously things come back together for any reason at the bottom of the final climb or on the final climb. Pogacar is going to win this from the group of the GC favourites. But I would say there's very, very little chance that the GC guys fight this out today. So I certainly wouldn't be taking Pogacar. Even yesterday, as strong as Pogacar was, he was 11-2. He still came fourth. He still never won the stage. Having said that, I would have been very worried if I'd laid him yesterday because of what he certainly looked like doing it. But today is going to be even more the case. I can't see Pogacar winning the stage. Nothing to do with his abilities. By far the best rider. Then we go down. We've got Lopez at 8-1. Gee, Lopez, he hit the tarmac yesterday, I believe. He just seemed to have a bit of bad luck, but he doesn't seem to have the legs that he had leading into the Tour. So a bit disappointed with him. And the same, I think, can be said for Alaphilippe. He'll probably get a bit more room now. Might justify some people going on him at there 12-1. Fuchslang, he's a guy who likes riding in the wet. I'll give him a chance at 14. But my first selection for this stage, and guys, please understand, I am giving you my selections. You follow them at your peril. I mean, as much as I'm loving this tour, I'm in absolutely hopeless form. I think the analysis has been reasonable, but the actual selections have been terrible. 1 unit O'Connor at 16-1. O'Connor's a guy who can ride in the wet. He's going to be given probably a bit of freedom to get into the break. I'm not sure he'll be, he probably wouldn't be allowed to get 10 minutes up the road. But he's also capable, if it does come to sort of more of a collection, he is capable of probably winning from the, with an attack from the GC group at the bottom of the final climb or somewhere up the final climb. Michael Woods, he certainly showed good legs. Now, this is interesting because I placed my bet in fact, I didn't place my bet. I wish I had. But just before the show, I looked at the odds and Michael Woods was 25-1. I'm going to have to correct that now and say Michael Woods 20-1, which is a pity. 25-1 is actually what roped me in there on Woods. He looked good yesterday, and obviously, I would have expected him to perhaps capitalise and win the stage. He found Dylan Tiern's too strong there, but he certainly showed he's got good legs, and he'll be right up there in the break again today. Palabel Bauer, can expect him to be there. Pierre Latour, I don't know, he was so disappointing yesterday. Oh, let me just start clicking too many buttons here. But let's go down the list. Richie Porte, who I was on yesterday, unfortunately disappointed. He did try and get in, but it doesn't look like he's got the legs. Although having said that, I do think he'll make the break today. Chavez finished 10 minutes back yesterday. But let's go down. There's Omar Fraley. I'll give him a strong chance today at 33-1. Wout Pools, I'm going to stick half a unit on Pools at 40-1. Although I do think I do expect him to be in the break, but I think he may have to work a little bit if he wants to go for King of the Mountains points. They may not have much left. And the other guy I'm going to go for, he also got into the break yesterday, and that is a Sepp Kuss. Let's just scroll this properly up. Where is he? There's Sepp Kuss at 50-1. That's my other one, half a unit on Sepp Kuss at 50-1. That's it for me, everyone. Should be another great stage. Certainly, from a betting point perspective, I would definitely suggest going for someone from the breakaway. There's, of course, in-running betting as well. So if you want to take a more conservative view, then wait for the stage to start, see who's in the break, and back someone from that. But it should be a good one. If I'm a bookmaker, I'm going 8-1 Pogacar on this stage to try and encourage a bit of business on him. Have a good one, and we'll be back for the next stage. Enjoy.